The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Friday episode of Running Point. We've reached the end of the week. TGIF, am I right? This is an episode of Running Point brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. I'm going to put them up in the top right-hand corner of the screen so you know where to go if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle. It is always going to be Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown, right up there. They go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on this show every single day. And we thank them for their constant support of Running Point and everything we do at YSN. They've been the presenting sponsor of Running Point since the jump, and they've stayed with us through the twists and turns and changes that Running Point has made. So we thank them for that every day. It's going to be a good show today. We're going to recap all the action from last night like we always do. Had some big-time games. Had some thrillers go down last night as well. But then we'll also dive into Football Friday. It is officially Week 6. We're on game day. Like we always do on Friday, we're going to break down all the matchups so you can go and listen to the Power Hour pick the matchups, right? So we'll break them down. We'll talk about them. Power Hour will pick them with the Super Show at 3 o'clock. So it's going to be a fun afternoon on YSN. But let's start with the scoreboard from last night, and let's pop it up here on your screen. Now let's go. The YSN scoreboard, always brought to you and presented by Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs. We thank them for letting us bring you this awesome tool for our YSN fans. If you are watching a broadcast maybe and you just want to check a score real quick, don't want to get off your screen that long, or maybe you're at a game and you want to check the score of somewhere else in the area. And once again, if you're at a game, you don't want to be on your screen too long. This is a quick, easy way to check in the scoreboard. YSN scoreboard is always live updated. It's not something that you just have to wait until midnight to see the final scores come in. It is live updated, especially on Friday nights. We work hard to make sure that these games are live updated on the scoreboard, and it is brought to you by Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs. So it's a great tool for our fans out there that want to know exactly what's going on around the area at a moment's notice without having to pop around broadcasts every now and then. So here we go. Last night's scoreboard, though, Thursday, September 21st, 2023. We'll start with Jefferson getting the 3-set win over Geneva. Edgewood gets the 3-1 win over Conneaut. Then we also have Howland falling to Boardman 3-0. Champion got the win over Garfield. We saw Gerard sweep Niles. We'll go over there in a minute. Hubbard, they were able to sweep Ursuline in a big matchup. Columbiana gets the best of Latonia 3-0, the final score there. Lakeview sweeps Struthers 3-0. Big NE8 clash there. Reynolds Ridge beats Waterloo 3-0. Wellsville takes care of Lisbon in a sweep. Heartland and Warren JFK, one of the thrillers of the night. This one goes 5 in the Purple Palace, but JFK could not muster up enough to get the win. So the Lions protect their home court against the incoming Warren JFK Eagles, and they get the win there. We saw Springfield get a double-double from Balin Brungard, and they get the sweep over Sebring 3-0. South Range gets the win over Hubbard in 4 sets. We know that Liberty was able to bounce back, get a much-needed win after falling a couple of in a row. They get the win over Brookfield in straight sets. I want to talk about the game that I was at, though, and it was Crestview going to Camel. Coming into this night, Camel had a lot of energy. This is my first time doing the Camel home game for volleyball, and we always knew that gym in Camel was extremely loud, extremely energetic. And one of the things that made it that way is, it's an older gym. It's got the wood benches. I think it's got the acoustics like crazy because you go in there, and it wasn't like the place was packed up to the sold out capacity, but it sounded like it. So it's got to be a hard place to play. I know it is a hard place to play. I'm going to say that. So you go in. The JV for Camel wins. They beat Crestview in 3. There's a lot of energy coming into this varsity game. Camel does a great job giving their players the intros and the lineups that make you feel like you're in a college atmosphere. They have the intro video play on the projector screen. It's just a big atmosphere, right? They're bringing a lot of energy. So when you're an opponent trying to come into that, you got to match that energy. And Crestview, they did a wonderful job just starting fast, and they went out to like an 8-9-1 lead before Camel even got on the board. And once that happened, all the energy that was there for the Red Devils went away. And Crestview kind of ran away with this one. But the things I want to talk about in this match are a couple of things. One, we have to give a shout out to Grace Hour. Grace Hour just does another milestone career, checklist, whatever you want to call it. She gets the program record for career kills, which was held by Mackenzie Dow back in 2018. 1,048 is the number that Grace Hour is at now with the 12 kills she got last night. The record was 1,042, and the record was 1,042. And now Grace Hour, with a little less than half of the season still to go, they're 12 games in, I think. Crestview's 12-0. So with about 10 games left in the regular season and then tournament, Grace Hour has already broken the record. So it's safe to say that she's going to shatter that thing, and it's going to be really hard to come back for anyone else to come and break it. So Grace Hour gets another milestone under her belt. Check. Another thing I want to talk about that I really saw from Crestview, and this is a big picture thing, right? Because Crestview probably didn't need what I'm about to talk about to beat Camel, and they're probably not going to need it to beat a lot of the MVAC teams that they're going to face. They've already proven they're just head and shoulders above the conference this year. But they had their secondary hitters. So your hitters that aren't named Grace and Laney Hour, not named Abby Emsch. They really showed up. Katie Lissy had 5 kills. Julia Blasco had 10. That's 15 extra kills that they're usually not really getting. I mean, Julia Blasco has been averaging, I think, 3 kills a night, 2 every now and then. But 10 is a big number to get from her. I think I wouldn't be wrong in saying the best offensive performance that she's had all year. And then Katie Lissy is more of the role player that gets the coverage, really good at coverage on hitters. Right side swinger. So right sides obviously naturally don't get as many swings just to start with. So her kill numbers are not very high either, but to get 5 out of her, that's really impressive too. Crestview's going to need that going forward when they're starting to play the really big teams in tournament time. They got to have as many weapons as possible. So if they can get Julia Blasco to continue to really swing confidently, get her involved in the offense, and then, it doesn't take a lot. Maybe like 3, 4, 5 kills from Katie Lissy out there on the right side too. Then, man, this Crestview offense becomes even more difficult to defend because you have to give so much attention to Abby Emsch. You have to give so much attention to Grace Hour. And then when Laney Hour's on the outside, you have to give so much attention to her. You can't possibly shut them down with a lot of defensive attention and put a blocker on Blasco or put a blocker on Katie Lissy. It's just not going to happen. So when you get those two to contribute, it doesn't have to be a monster number. It doesn't have to be going out and getting 15, 14, 13 kills a night. But if you can get, 5 to 10 kills from them when you're playing really high quality volleyball teams to go along with the 12, 13, 14 that Abby Imps, Grace Hour, and Laney Hour are all subject to get every night, then that gives you 5 players that really can consistently hurt you on the volleyball court for Crestview. And I'm telling you, we've seen them dominate with 3 in the area. They're definitely one of the best teams we have in the Ysn family. But let me tell you, when they get into the district final rounds and when they get into the regionals, they're going to need every source of offense they can possibly get. This Division 3 tournament is no joke. You got Mineral Lake Catholic, of course. They're the number 1 team in the state. They have 3 D1 commits on their floor, 1 defensive specialist, 2 front row players. Then you have Smithville, who's probably, I've seen their tape because they played Mineral Ridge earlier, so I watched that game on tape. Smithville might be the best ball control team that I've seen this year. They rarely get out of system. They're always running their offense. Not the strongest hitters you see, but when you're always in system and you can't put things down, that really gets to frustrating you. And that they're really good at that. That's what they did really well against Mineral Ridge. They just had such good ball control, and they do that really well. So you have Smithville, who will probably be in our region. And then Apple Creek Waynedale is a very good team. They're liable to be in the region. They have a couple of really awesome outside hitters, and they have a really good setter as well. So you look at this level of volleyball that Crestview's eventually going to have to get to, right? And you're going to have to start to judge Crestview on the little things, on the things that you judge elite volleyball teams on, and grade them at a higher scale. And what I saw last night was really, it was made me even more optimistic that they can have a chance to go and compete in Barberton against those teams I just mentioned, because no matter who, if you're playing a high quality volleyball team, you're going to need more options, more places to go. The more places that Grace and Laney Hour, whoever is setting, the more places they can decide to go with an in-system ball, the better. So if they're getting trust and rhythm with Julia Blasco and Katie Lissy, then their options when you're in system, which Crestview's in system quite a bit. So their options when you're in system just go, all everywhere, right? So that's going to be one of the keys to Crestview going forward. Can they keep those two involved in the offense? And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I said this on the broadcast, it was the same with the LeBray game for Crestview. One of the things that always amazes me about this team is they'll take a good effort. Like Campbell did not play terrible volleyball. They were in system more than they weren't. Their errors weren't high. They didn't have a lot of unforced errors. They were just outmatched. And you look at a score like the ones we saw, 25-8, 25-6, these scores that Crestview's putting up against Campbell. And when you see scores like that, you obviously immediately think, well, that game was a blowout. They weren't really prepared for that game, or the other team didn't play well, or they were making errors. Because no, this is just Crestview is that good. And that's what you see when they're playing quality teams in the league. LeBray, Campbell, even Newton Falls. They're very good volleyball teams. But Crestview has the ability to make good volleyball teams look silly. And unfortunately for Campbell, it was one of those nights where Crestview was on fire. They were getting everything up in the air. They were defending the net pretty well, and they weren't getting blocked. They were really using the block to their advantage. They didn't make many errors themselves. They came off of a Monday game against Mineral Ridge where they made 7 service errors and I think 5, 6, 7 attack errors in the game. So, obviously they won in 4, but Coach Hour, doesn't like to see errors like that at that magnitude. So this next Tuesday and Thursday game, they were just fine-tuned to the T where they were not making errors. I think maybe 2 attack errors and 1 service error. If that's going off of my memory, I don't have the numbers right in front of me. But I remember 1 service error very, very, very clearly because it was at the end of a big rally. And I think maybe 1 or 2 attack errors. But everything else was in play, put pressure on Campbell's offense to get up in the air. And like I said, most of the time, more time than not, I should say, they were in system. They made good passes. They gave Carla Ramirez-Ortiz a good chance to get a good set. Crestview was just getting stuff up. Crestview was just getting stuff up in the air. So you can't fault them for that. You can't fault Crestview for just being a very dominant volleyball team. It was fun to watch. We go to boys soccer. Pymatuning Valley, they beat Bristol 7-1. United beat Columbiana 5-3. We're gonna go to the first 3 columns here, and then we'll scroll over to the last one like we always do. This once again, this is my computer. It's not something that you'll have to deal with all the time if you're using the scoreboard. But anyway, there we go. We go to boys soccer, and we see that West Branch got the win over Middle Ridge 5-0. Austintown Fitch falls to Canfield 4-0. Hubbard with a big win over Lakeview 3-0. We go to Girard winning over Niles 4-0. Boardman 7-4 over Warren Harding. And then we go into girls soccer. We have Warren JFK beating Rootstown 6-4. And then last but not least, football last night. A heartbreaker for for Ashtabula St. John. 30-28, they lose to Matthews in the final minutes of that game. So Matthews gets the win over St. John in football. Let's scroll over to that last column over there and see what we have for boys soccer. We see that Poland and South Range tied at 1. It's a big matchup in the NE8. Both teams are so good. We know that. And then Howland gets the win over Ursuline. Put up a really good fight, the Irish did, but Howland eventually too much, 3-1, the final score there. Howland gets the win. So that does it for your volleyball scoreboard. What we're going to do, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have football talk for Week 6 here on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Hi, this is Zell Bush.
Hi, this is Tom Flynn. Hi, this is Steve Versetto.
Hi, this is Ryan Miller.
Hi, this is Rich Sakui from WRS Wealth Advisors.
With our combined 80 years of experience,
WRS Wealth Advisors are the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services.
Or visit WRSwealth.com.
go Raiders,
Go Dogs!
Go Cats. Go Dogs. Go Tigers.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
Nestled here in the beauty and splendor of Mill Creek Metro Parks are 2 of America's best golf courses, as selected by Golf Week magazine. Ranked number 9 in Ohio by TripAdvisor. Come play like a pro on these award-winning Donald Ross-designed courses. Enjoy a round with your kids and unwind with your favorite food and drinks in the grill room. For championship golf, look no further than your backyard. Mill Creek Golf Course.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local, independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
The feeling when my hands are on the piano, it's become comforting. It's somewhere that I can express myself. I go to Youngstown State University and my passion is playing music. YSU is allowing me to take what I love and turn it into a career and do it every single day of my life. I'm Alyssa and I'm YN proud.
My guy keeps it 100% of the time. He wants all 100, won't settle for 99. And it's more than stats because there's people in those numbers. And I was one of the lost sheep. I'm so glad he cares for all 100. I'm 100% safe, 100% free, 100% love. I can be 100% me. He gave all 100 when they put him up on that tree. That's 100% passion for 100% free. So if I play in front of 100, or if I play in front of 2, there's an audience of 1 getting 100% of what I can do.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com. As always, we are brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on this show every single day. Speaking of Greenwood Chevrolet, they are having a giveaway. All you have to do to win a YSU football signed by head coach Doug Phillips is guess the score of next week's Penguin football game against Northern Iowa. If you comment on Greenwood Chevrolet's post, head over to Greenwood Chevy's Facebook page. Comment on their post what you think the final score will be. You will be entered to win the YSU football signed by Doug Phillips, head coach of the YSU Penguins. There are 2 of them, so 2 people are going to win. Make sure to go and check that out. Greenwood Chevy doing an awesome giveaway. Plus, last time I went by their dealership, they had a pretty awesome yellow Corvette sitting out in their parking lot. So you might want to go in, check that out, give it a look-see. You can even give it a test drive. Greenwood Chevrolet is the only place you can test drive the new 2024 Chevy Trax as well. So a lot of fun stuff you can do if you head over to Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. No one will treat you better if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle. Let's finally dig in to week 6 of football. It is Football Friday. Let's go into what games we have coming at you tonight. We'll go back to the Burnett Pools Spas and Hot Tub scoreboard. Let's pop it up on your screen so you can get it. Once again, this is your place for live updated scores brought to you proudly by Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs. First, but not worst. I don't know what I'm saying because I wanted to say last but not least. There's not a first but not worst. I don't know. East Liverpool hosting Cambridge tonight. That's a 7 p.m. kickoff. The Potters trying to snap out of a 2-game losing streak. And they are going up against, well, I'm guessing Wildcat, maybe Bobcat. They're using that Ohio Bobcat logo. I don't exactly know what Cambridge's mascot is. Some kind of cat. They're going up against them, and the Potters are trying to get a big win to get out of a losing streak. Old-fashioned rivalry going on, Boardman versus Mooney. Now, both these teams have had flashes of greatness. Mooney, a couple more flashes of greatness this year, of course, last week with the 42-0 win. But Boardman's a team that you can't judge on their record, because if you watch the film of Boardman, you'll see every week they're making this the next step, that step it takes to get a win. Step. They're really getting there. They have a really good defense at times. They have a really good offense at times. They've had one game where they have put it together and played both those facets of the game at a high level at once. But they've also had a couple of games where they've played really good defense and fallen. They've also had a game where they played really good offense and fallen. So this is a Boardman team really trying to put it together, trying to find their identity. And if they can put it together against Cardinal Mooney, then you can't take them out, because they've held really good offenses to low point totals, and they've also scored against some pretty good solid defenses as well. So this Boardman team, although their record doesn't really speak to it, very sneaky. You can't sleep on them. Cardinal Mooney might be in for a dogfight tonight, and I think especially going on the road into Boardman, it's always a tough place to play. It could be a competitive one in Spartanville. Warren Harding, they will host Youngstown Cheney. It's another old school rivalry as Cheney goes into Mollenkoff Stadium trying to get the win over the Raiders. How about Conneaut going into Jefferson? Jefferson's having a tough year, and Conneaut's a big physical team. Not someone you want to play if you're reeling, or if your team morale is kind of down, because let me tell you something. Conneaut takes no prisoners with their run game. They're going to push you around. You're going to really feel tomorrow that you played Conneaut, because they are a very physical football team. So if you're struggling, not the team you want to play. Conneaut coming to town. Jefferson looking to find some positive vibes in the second half of the season. Crestview, they found some positive vibes last week. They got their win over Campbell. Brookfield got that overtime win over Liberty. So both these teams coming off of big wins. So I expect this one to be kind of a fast start. Who's going to take the tone first and who's going to run with it? Brookfield has been playing really well of late, and they're home. So you might give the edge to the Warriors a little bit. But Crestview, maybe last week they started to put a couple of things together. Their effort was definitely, I think, the best that we've seen it this season last week. I think the consistent effort, and what I was really impressed by the discipline. They didn't really shoot themselves in the foot too much last week, which in the last season and chunk has kind of gotten in Crestview's way. They've been a little bit wavering on the discipline, the unforced penalties, the unforced errors, last several games. So Crestview being able to stop that last week, get a win, maybe they can continue that, because if they don't put themselves in bad situations, they're actually a pretty decent football team. Youngstown East, they are going to be hosting, Dawn Community. Whoa. Youngstown East trying to get the win over Dawn and Community. I got to be honest, don't know anything about this team. So go Bears. That's all I got to say about that one. Southern Local, they are going to be hosting East Palestine. Now, Palestine proved last week that they can hang with the big boys, right? They went against Valley Christian at home. They had a 7-point deficit in the fourth quarter. They scored 13 unanswered after falling behind 20-0. They made a lot of big defensive stops in the second half. Valley Christian, yes, some penalties put them in bad situations, but East Palestine stayed away from the big play for the most part. Not a lot of 20-plus yard plays for Valley Christian to get them out of those big holes that holding penalties and whatnot got them into. Now, the thing that the thing that scares me about East Palestine about last week and about them going into this week is their run defense still wasn't really great against Valley Christian. They still let run a lot. I think he had over 150 yards on the ground. So yeah, the running defense has to get better against Southern Local, and if it does, then they could be right in it. This is an East Palestine team that looks different than what we've seen in the last 2 years. So I wouldn't put it past the Bulldogs to make this a fight tonight. Make this a fight. Make this a dog fight. And then in Southern, they're just keep on keeping on. They had that tough loss early in the season, and ever since then, they've been playing like an angry football team. And you don't want a physical team like Southern to be also angry, because they will look to hurt you in the nicest way I can say that. Like, they're not out there trying to literally hurt people and ruin careers or anything like that. But a part of playing football, you can't get around, is inflicting pain, right? Inflicting your will and your power on the other team and get them to a point when they don't want to line up against you anymore. And Southern can be really good at that if they're angry and they're physical, which they are both the last couple of weeks. So that can be a problem for East Palestine. We'll see how they fare. They played really well last week, so I'm watching the Bulldogs and thinking they might be competitive in this one. Edgewood, they had that one tough week, right? But last week they get right back on it. They shut out their opponent. They score 48 points. So let's see what Edgewood, if they can stay consistent and keep another win streak going. They only have one loss in the year. They're going to Geneva. We've already seen Geneva play this year. They won against Springfield, and Edgewood's a solid offense. I don't know if the Eagles can slow them down. We'll see what happens tonight. Springfield, off that big win on the road against Matthews, they come back home to the Jungle, and they will play Jackson Milton, a very hot football team right now. This should be a fun one in New Middletown. Springfield dropped 70 last week against Matthews. That's the biggest offense total that we've seen in the Ysn family so far this year. Jackson Milton got the close win, where they had the plays down the stretch on that final drive against McDonald to eat out the clock and take a knee and end it. 28-21 was the final score. So you had one team that just kind of, I don't want to say a waste week, but almost a waste week, where you just kind of level your opponent 70-7. And you have another team that, one, has that momentum off a win, but also played very significant, clutch football down the stretch. And usually you give a little bit of an edge in the start of a game where the emotions are taking over to the team that had the close win. But we'll see. The start of this game is going to be key, I think, for both teams. Grand Valley, they have they're going to have a lot on their plate. The Kirtland Hornets coming to town, and we all know how good Kirtland is at football. So Grand Valley going to have a lot on their plate today. At Stabula Lakeside, they're on the road. They will take on Madison. A 4-4-0 showdown as the Dragons try to notch another win to their record this year. How about Lakeview? They had a tough one last week. They got steamrolled by Niles. But 2 weeks ago, they were very much competitive against South Range. So can they get back to that Lakeview team and go to Arrowhead Stadium and maybe shock Girard? Girard, they've lost 2 of their last 3, but last week they kind of got back on the horse, got some momentum. It was against a smaller division Pymachining Valley team. So, you take that for what it's worth. But, Girard was really reeling. They were on their heels. They lost 2 in a row. Let's see what they can do tonight. Now it's back to conference play. It's back to a opponent that's on your same level, that has shown they can play with the really good teams in the NE8. They've already went to a 7-point loss to South Range. If they show up like they did that night, then this is going to be a real fun one. If Niles does if Girard does what Niles did last week and just runs over this defense with the run game, then it could be a long night for Lakeview. I'm interested to see what it starts, because Girard is not necessarily the offense that Niles is. Niles is definitely, let's dominate you with the run game. Let's get Gardner the ball. Let's let him eat. Girard likes to spread you out. They're really more athletic. They have speed for days. The track stars on this team, I've talked about it before. They like to really use their athleticism and spread out their offense and get guys in space. A little bit different challenge for the defense this week for Lakeview. Columbiana coming off their first win of the season. They're trying to make it 2 in a row. They're hosting Latonia. Latonia, like East Palestine, looks different this year, though. They look a little bit different. Their defense played well in the second half last week. Can Latonia find a way to sneak a win this year? I don't know if it's this week. I don't know if it's that, but I feel like this Latonia team is going to find a way to get a big win for their program that has just been really struggling the last couple of years. So Latonia, they look more disciplined, more focused, bought into the program. I think they're gonna sneak out a win eventually this year. Will it be tonight? I don't know. I think they can definitely be a little competitive against Columbiana, who hasn't had the strongest offense in the world this year, and Latonia's defense at times has looked really good. Well, we'll see. McDonald needs a win. They need a win. They need to win badly. They're going to go to Waterloo to try to get it. Beaver Local, they're hosting Niles. Austin Klein, talk about having a heck of a season so far. Man, he has been hot, especially since week 1. He's one of the premier players in YSN that maybe not talked about a lot, maybe not talked about enough, you could argue, in the media, because, man, he's putting on a show. 3rd year as quarterback for this Beaver Local team, and he is just controlling the offense so well. Beavers look almost unstoppable on the offensive side of the ball. Niles coming off of a shutout victory. Their defense played extremely well last week. Can Beaver Local stop Gardner? Can they stop the run? It's going to be interesting to see what the Beavers can do in Beaver Local at home tonight. How about Salem? They're traveling to Alliance, trying to get the wheels on and trying to get their first win of the year. It's going to be a big one if they can do it against the Aviators. But quite possibly the game of the night could be a big matchup in the NE8, South Range versus Poland. Poland has looked so good all season, consistent. And every year there's that one team that we say, this is the year that someone sneaks up on South Range. This is the year they get them. Last year there was Gerard. They looked really good up until the South Range game. It's been Hubbard with TC Caffey. It's been Poland before. We always have that one team that's like, hey, this is it. This is the team. They're going to give South Range a lot of trouble. This year is no different. Poland has looked so dominant. South Range has not looked dominant. They've still gotten wins. Credit to the Raiders for pulling out game-winning plays at the end of games and getting wins. They're still undefeated in the NE8. So this is a matchup for first place. But South Range doesn't look dominant. Poland does. What side of the fence are we on here? I will say that every time that team kind of clashes with South Range, they hear it. They hear it all week. This is it. This is the team, right? And then obviously in years past, that South Range team has won the game convincingly. How will it go tonight? I don't know. This is one of those games that I'm not going to put it past the Raiders to do what they always do against the good teams that they come up against, the teams that are supposed to beat them. But I feel like this Poland team is going to be really hard to dominate because of how well they run the ball and how physical they are. I think South Range is good now at winning close games. They've proven that. If this game is close, you can't just say, automatically advantage Poland. One thing that kind of, their offense can be shut down. We saw Canfield do that to them in the 10-7 win over the Cardinals. They're not built for comebacks, so I think if South Range gets an early lead, can Poland get that quick scored ability? They love to control the ball. They love to control the ball, and they love to really run really well, right? They had over 250 yards running last week. So this is going to be an interesting game between a team that has a target on their back the size of the whole city of Canfield and a team that feels like this is their year, feels like they're putting things together. They've looked unbelievably good the last 5 weeks of the season. And this is their big test. Everyone in the NE8 that looks good during the season, their big test is, okay, can you beat South Range, though? Because if you can't beat South Range, then it doesn't matter because they're going to win the league. And, it doesn't matter if you can't beat the best in the conference. I am never a fan of defining a season by a win or a loss. But for Poland especially, this is as close as it gets to defining a season by a win or a loss. Because I feel like no matter what they do the rest of the year, if they lose to South Range, it'll be a yeah, but year. It'll be a yeah, but you couldn't beat the big boy. You couldn't beat the team that has owned this conference, right? So for Poland, as close as it can be, I'm not going to say it'll define their year because they would still have so much ahead of them, even if they lost this game and they don't play in their division. So Poland would have a playoff run in their future probably. So it would not define their season exactly. But this game can come as close as it possibly could to defining a team season, especially on Poland's side. Because if Poland wins, then they're the team to do it, right? They're finally the team to take down the mighty South Range Raiders who have owned this NE8 for years. And if they don't do it, there going to be a lot of yeah buts for Poland. They go 9-1. Yeah, but you didn't beat South Range. You didn't take down the team on the throne, especially if South Range goes after Poland and goes and they win the rest of the conference and they win the NE8. It's going to be a yeah, but you couldn't beat them. And when they go in the playoffs and they play really good teams, it's going to be, yeah, they played well, but when they played a really good team, when they played maybe arguably the best team on their schedule, they didn't win, right? So I think for Poland's sake, I'm not going to say it's defining their season, but it's dang close to it. They need this win. They need it bad. They need it for team morale. They need it for going forward. They need it for the playoff push. They need a win in this rivalry, in this big rivalry of this game. Poland needs a win. South Range's side, they've proven that maybe this isn't the same look South Range. Maybe we're not beating teams by 40. Maybe that doesn't matter. People don't care if you win by 4, you win by 40, you win by 30. It's a win, right? You care if you can get the win. And sometimes I'm more impressed by a team that is winning consistently in close games. 2 league games so far for South Range. They're both 1 possession wins for the Raiders. So that proves to me that in the clutch moments of games, they will have confidence in their players to go out there and execute. Whether they win this game or lose this game against Poland, they're going to get into the playoffs. I mean, I think we can all kind of agree that South Range is a playoff team. And we all know in the playoffs, you're going to eventually run into close game scenarios. Last year, it was a unicorn, right? South Range kind of rolled through most of the playoff contention. No one really gave them too much of a game, even in the state championship. That was a unicorn, right? That was one of those things that usually doesn't happen. To win a state championship, you usually have to win 2, maybe 3 really tight games in the playoffs to get through. So the question was always with South Range in the past, after they dominated their way through the season, what could they do in close games? Could they have those clutch moments? Could they come up with the game-making plays in clutch situations because they hadn't been pushed all season? Now, all of a sudden, this South Range team has been pushed. They have played in close games. Their loss was a close game. Their wins have been mostly close outside of the JFK game where they ran through JFK and the Springfield game, but their league games have been awfully close. 1 possession win over Lakeview, 1 possession win over Struthers. They had to go down the length of the field in 2 minutes to beat the Wildcats on the road. It doesn't get much harder than that, right? So this South Range team, more than the past, early tests proving they can win in close game situations. That could make them even more dangerous. It's going to be a fun one in Poland. Southeast goes to Pymatuning Valley in a battle of 2 really physical football teams. This might be low scoring. I think this might be one of those games that goes 20-14-ish type of score. I'm really intrigued by this Lisbon United game. Lisbon has been an up and down team. We've seen flashes of really good football from them. And United trying to just take their spot in the EOAC. Luke Courtney has played his butt off this season. Can United stay hot? They're kind of like the Girard of the NE8 where they're very outliers of the style of EOAC football right now, right? Because most of EOAC is we're going to ground you out, we're going to be physical, we're going to run the ball down your throat, control the ball. United is athletic as all get out. They like to spread you out. They like to use that athleticism. They like to give their quarterback, Luke Courtney, room to do stuff. When he runs, it's not just a belly run up the middle. Let's get him some space. Let's get him one-on-one opportunities to make a guy miss and get some space on the field. They love to use their athleticism. So this is going to be a game where, once again, it's a battle of two different styles of football. And when that happens, it's all about who sets the tone and who is the team that controls the tempo of the game. Now, another big matchup. We talked about South Range Poland. Well, we have Ysn versus Fitch, too. Both these teams have looked phenomenal this season. Ysn undefeated, Fitch that one loss in a heartbreaker where they gave up a lead late to Centerview. I think that's the but Ysn has looked probably the cleanest I've seen them look. They did, like last year, even though they had a really good record and they were winning, they were a little bit undisciplined. They turned the ball over more than I would like them to. This year, they're kicking butt, taking names, right? They're not making those unforced errors, kicking themselves in the foot like they were last year. They were still getting away with it, which was amazing last year. It told you how good they were as a football team, because they would still win even if they did have a couple of silly mistakes in the game. This year, not so much. One of the things we talked about with this game, and I think me and Scotty talked about it ahead of time last week when he was on the show, because he wanted to ask about this matchup. I think he knew that he was going to be, on the show this week. He was at the Canton Football Hall of Fame, so he asked about Fitch Ysn to get a preview for it. But Ysn, this year and last year, really, on defense, has been very good at turning over teams. They're ball hawks. We saw them open the game last week with a pick six, right? They're good at forcing your quarterback into bad situations. Very athletic in the secondary. They can make plays on the ball. They've proven that. They have interceptions for days. They have turnovers for days. They love to take the ball away. Austintown Fitch, to their credit, has won. But remember in that St. Ignatius game for the Falcons, they did have turnovers. They had 2 picks from Deshaun Vaughn. One of them was one of those ones where I'm not going to be too critical on. It was a jump ball up to the corner. It was either it was going to be an incomplete pass, a catch, or a punt. If they didn't get it, so it basically ended up being a punt. It wasn't a critical interception, but he still he's got a balance tonight. And I talked about this. He's got a balance being himself, letting the reins off of him, making those great athletic plays that we always see Deshaun Vaughn making. But he's also got to do all of that while making sure he stays within himself in situational football, not putting the ball in danger. It's a hard thing for a young athletic quarterback to get. Heck, we see college quarterbacks at the biggest level. We see NFL quarterbacks sometimes that are super athletic struggle with that. Remember Jameis Winston, right? He can make an amazing play one down, and then the next down he throws a pick because he didn't really get that balance. He didn't get being athletic, making these improvised plays while protecting the football at the same time. Deshaun Vaughn, for the most part, makes those decisions really, really well. And I think TJ Parker, one of his really great attributes as a football coach is letting the reins off of his athletes. Like saying, hey, you go be yourself, man. You go play football the way you play football. He doesn't make Deshaun Vaughn fit him into a box that fits his style of football. And you have to play this style of football or we're not going to succeed. He probably, I don't know exactly what the conversations he has with Deshaun, but I'm guessing they go something like this. Hey, you are a great athlete. You make tremendous plays with the ball. You do things that a lot of guys just simply can't do. You go be yourself. But at the same time, know what you're doing. Protect the football. That's all we ask for you. Make the smart decisions. Do that while being yourself. And you do that, we're going to win the game. So I think Deshaun Vaughn is really good at that. And I think it's because Coach Parker trusts him to be good at that. A lot of these coaches nowadays, when they see a very athletic quarterback that can make improvised style plays, especially when they're young, high school level, some college level, especially the lower colleges, you'll see a lot of coaches try to hold them back a little bit, kind of tighten those reins. Say, hey, we got to keep this guy in check. We can't let him put the ball in danger because they don't trust him to go out there and make the good decisions. Coach Parker does that with Deshaun, and I think that's why, for the most part, we've seen him make the right decision with the ball in his hands. And when the ball's in his hands, my gosh, this kid is fun to watch. But a great quarterback on the other side. Don't forget about the season that Erickson is having for Ursuline. He is doing an incredible job as the quarterback, getting the ball to the playmakers on time. I think his best attribute this season has actually been his timing. Like, his timing and rhythm with his wide receivers this year has looked above reproach. So 2 really good quarterbacks, a little bit different styles. Deshaun Vaughn will run for his life and make those plays. Erickson's more of that old school quarterback. He'll get on the bootleg, he'll get on the run, but he likes to set his feet and make the nice throw. So I'm really looking forward to this matchup. 2 really good quarterbacks, 2 really good defenses that don't get enough credit, by the way. So I think it's going to come down to, honestly, I know this is a cliche for football. It's going to come down to the turnover battle. Let's move on to the next game. Wellsville will be going to Valley Christian. Now, Valley Christian did not play their best last week. I think Coach Hake would be very honest about that. They did not play their best. They got the win. Their last drive was phenomenal because they had a 20-0 lead at the half. They didn't score the third quarter. They didn't score most of the fourth quarter. East Palestine makes it a 1-score game. They need a drive, or they are giving the ball back to the Bulldogs with a lot of pressure on them because they did not want to be the first-place team to lose to East Palestine, right? No one wants to put themselves in that situation. So that last drive, where they go down the field, they score to essentially ice the game, was big. But they had a lot of penalties that put them in bad situations throughout the game. Let East Palestine come back. They did not play their best football. Especially, the pass defense was just not great. East Palestine really had a good passing attack. Breaking tackles, too. I think that's something that Coach Hake probably saw that he wanted to fix this week. We saw a lot of short passes that could have been 5-6 yards break for about 30, 32 yards. So I think this is going to be a game where anytime a good team doesn't play great but wins the week before, you start to see them really fine-tune themselves the next week. I think Valley Christian is going to be a very focused, very locked-in football team this week, which will make them hard to beat for Wellsville. Canfield, it does not get easy for the Cardinals at all. The Dover Tornadoes come into town, and they've had to take their lumps against Canfield the last couple of years. It's a revenge tour for Dover. Canfield coming off the big win, getting some momentum over Cheney. Can they keep that with a home game against Dover? That's going to be tough. I think we're going to learn a lot about this Canfield team this week against the Tornadoes. Hubbard, they're trying to bounce back. They had a tough one against Poland last week. They'll go up against the Struthers, who had a heartbreaker, right? Both these teams lost in very different ways. Hubbard was out of the game pretty quick. Struthers thought they won, and then they gave up a 2-minute drill offensive touchdown to South Range to lose. Heartbreaker for the Wildcats. Disappointing for Hubbard. Which one snaps out of it? You almost usually give the edge of that scenario to the home team because they're at least in a comfortable environment. But Hubbard, they're a team that I'm still impressed with because they have won in different ways. I've said that a couple of times. I really love football teams that can win with a defensive battle, but can also go and put points on the board when they have to. And they've won in both scenarios like that this year. So I've really enjoyed watching Hubbard. I think this is going to be one of those sneaky good ones. It might not have the magnitude on the standings like maybe the Poland South Range game does, but a very good game inside the conference nonetheless between Hubbard and the Struthers. We go to LeBray as they travel to Champion. Obviously, Champion has struggled this year. LeBray has been kind of up and down. They looked really good last week, though, against a Newton Falls team that was coming off a win. So LeBray goes into Champion. They're going to try to make it 2 in a row. Garrettsville Garfield has been one of the most dominant teams we've had in the YSN Nation. They have the chance to continue that at home. They're welcoming in Campbell Memorial, Mineral Ridge, and Ian Erb, who's up for Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley. By the way, go on to ysnlive.com/big dogs to vote for him or your favorite athlete that's on the list. He got there by breaking the program record for touchdowns in a game, 6 touchdowns last week. I've been seeing Ian Erb's praise all season, so I'm not even surprised that he broke records. You've heard his name on Running Point, I think, every week. You heard a lot last year, too. I love this kid. I love the way he plays football. And he's going to run into a Lowville team that needs a win. They had a tough loss last week, a 1-possession loss to Western Reserve. So 2 teams that are trying to gain some ground in the standings, and we'll see what they're made of. I think this is going to be a sneaky competitive game, too. Let's go to Howland. They're going to have a tough task trying to stop NDCL coming to town. Tigers are at least at home. West Branch travels to Minerva. No disrespect to the Lions, but that should be a quick one. Newton Falls trying to get hot again. They have a Liberty team that was right there last week. Right there. Lost in overtime to Brookfield on a failed 2-point conversion. So can they come back, go on the road, and beat Newton Falls? We'll see. Tigers have been kind of like LeBray, who they lost to last week. Up and down, riding the roller coaster. Both these teams really have showed glimpses of greatness, but not consistent. So consistency is the key in the matchup between the Tigers and the Leopards. Battle of the Big Cats going on tonight. Edison looks to stay undefeated. They have Toronto coming to town. Wyndham will go to Fairport Harding. And last but not least, we have Orange traveling to Chagrin Falls. With that being said, before we get out of here, I want to shout out the announcers that are going to be out tonight and where they'll be so you can know what you can watch and who you'll be listening to. I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong week. Excuse me. We'll go to the 22nd. Let's see. Gary Burton's going to be in East Liverpool as they welcome in Cambridge. Donnie Riccatelli and Don Mascula are going to be at Boardman for Cardinal Mooney versus the Spartans. Tim Corso and Nick Mundy going to be at Cheney Warren Harding. Wow TV is going to have Jefferson and Conneaut. Tony Perazio is going to be in Brookfield for Crestview and Brookfield. 7 o'clock start there. Nate DeCross and Quinn are heading to East for their matchup with Dawn Community. We have Tim and Dan Figley going to Southern to travel with the Bulldogs and match up with the Indians. Our Edgewood crew has Edgewood covered at Geneva. Jamie Thompson going to be on the call at Springfield as Springfield welcomes in Jackson Milton. Could be a really good game in New Middletown. How about Tyler Hartz and the Grand Valley students? We love them, their crew. They're going to be at the Grand Valley game against Kirtland. Sean Prine and Mike Hall going to be at Lakeside Madison for the call there, 7 o'clock kickoff. Matt Marr going to be back at Arrowhead Stadium for Lakeview and Girard. Joe Eusebio going to be calling the Latonia Columbiana game. DJ Oakley making a long trip to Waterloo from Columbiana County to match up with McDonald. 7 o'clock is your kickoff there. Chris Sigler is going to be a Beaver local. Niles and the Beavers going at it tonight, 7 o'clock kickoff. Matt Mowry and Jared Niederheis are going to travel to Alliance for that one with the Quakers. Poland students are going to be handling the South Range Poland game, so that one will be covered. Sam Torres and Ray Tirado going to be at Pymatuning Valley for Southeast coming to town. Rick Daly going to be in Lisbon as United comes to town to face off with the Blue Devils. Ty Bartell going to be at Austin Town Fitch for that game against Ursuline. No shocker there. Ty has been the voice of the Falcons for a while, and I don't think anything can stop him from getting this matchup on. Excuse me. Noah Doty and CJ Schroed's going to be in Valley Christian for Wellsville Valley Christian. Alec Camberna going to be in Canfield for Dover and Canfield. We have Steve Hodge and Tom Otto and Struthers for Hubbard at Struthers. CJ Bako going to be at Champion as LeBray comes to town. Eric Hughes is going to be in Lowville for Middle Ridge Lowville. Dom O'Brien going to be in Howland for NDCL going up against the Tigers. Michael Janaki traveling with West Branch to Minerva. Boxcast will have you covered for Garrettsville Garfield. That link will be in the YSN Live page, so head over to ysnlive.com/live. You can find the Garrettsville Garfield camel link there. And then John Ostapowitz going to be at Newton Falls for Liberty coming to town. Hoban was supposed to play Linton Stockton today, but that game has been canceled, so that game's not happening. Other games that are going on tonight in the YSN family, Sebring is going to be hosting Holgate. New Brighton's going to be at Mohawk. Orange, obviously, going to Chagrin Falls. Toronto and Edison, and then Wyndham at Fairport Harding. There's also a boys soccer game going on tonight, Badger and Bristol, since Badger does not have a football team. They'll play soccer tonight at Badger. Tomorrow we'll just go over the volleyball games. I will be in the Liberty for Liberty hosting LeBray. That is a rescheduled game from a couple weeks ago when the power went out in Liberty. Middle Ridge will be in Orange. The school will take care of that one. We'll have girls soccer tomorrow, Jackson and Hoban. Ty Bartel will be on the call there. Ursuline at Canfield, Matt Marr will be on the call. That'll be at 7 o'clock. Hubbard and Orange, the school will take care of that soccer matchup. Some football tomorrow as Mogador will take on Warren JFK. Dom O'Brien will be on the call there. We also will have college football on the network tomorrow. Westminster at Waynesburg. That'll be taken care of by the school. Boys soccer tomorrow. Norton at Canfield. Matt Marr will be on the call there. So a lot to look forward to over the weekend. All those games can be found at ysnlive.com/live. Also, tune into the Audible call. Mike Ackelson, myself, and all our great friends that come down to the studio will be handling the Audible call and the Joe Dickey Electric Scoreboard Show after it's all said and done. So with all that being said, thank you so much for tuning in this week and today to Running Point. We'll be back on Monday with a lot of fun stuff. We'll recap the whole weekend and we'll dive into more player profiles on Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back after the weekend. Enjoy it. Running Point brought to you by